requirement every single time we appear on camera. Oh, just making sure that the lawyers are happy. They did see two biceps. There was one there. There was the other one there. If you're not sure, there is two of them. There is two of them right there. So welcome to the show. We have a fantastic guest, but we must introduce the co-host, the co-founder, the co-breather of air, the co-wearer of clothes in this virtual room that we are in right now. It is none other than the Dancing Destroyer, the King of Sting, the Count of Monte Cristo, the Prince of Punch, the Master of Disaster. It is Thunderlips, the ultimate male. It is none other than the winner of the Dave Stockbridge of the Year award. It is 30, 40 years of the inaugural award that you keep winning every year. It's an amazing record that you've got there. It is your friend and mine. It is Dave Stockbridge. Stockbridge, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Hollywood. Matt Connolly. It's always a very warm welcome, and I do pride myself in that 45 years of winning that Dave Stockbridge of the Year award. Of course, those two very controversial years where I missed out to Vince Colosimo and Vincent Ronaldo. So they were sad times, but we did get through them. And I'm very, very proud to introduce this young lady to the podcast tonight. So the young lady on screen right now, she is a absolute powerhouse. But what I want to do is lend a little bit of context with this introduction. The planet's about 4 billion or so years old. A lot's happened in 4 billion years. Life forms crept out of the ocean, made its way to Earth. Life forms have evolved. A lot has had to happen over the last 4.5 billion years for humanity to get to this point. And when we're talking peak humanity, when we're talking the great achievements of mankind, we talk about what it is that we've done with space exploration. We talk about what we've done in the sciences. We talk about what our fastest athletes have done, but we also talk about what our strongest athletes have done, because it's a mark of a species in terms of where we're at, what the high watermark is. And right now, the young lady on screen is that high watermark. In 4.5 billion years of evolution, there has not been a single woman on the planet who got to bench press 700 pounds before the lady on screen right now. And now she's tearing up arm wrestling tables wherever she goes around the world. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Ashleigh Hoeta.
That was such a good introduction. Thank you.
Well, I'm taking inspiration from Hollywood Matt Connolly, of course. So his introductions are always very well embellished, but I don't even feel like there's any embellishment there. It's like this is if civilization is at its high point, you are the strongest woman in that whole hierarchy of humanity that's ever occurred. Does the enormity of what you've actually been able to achieve, does that ever really sink in, or can you just not think about it too much and just keep focused on what's next?
I don't think it will ever fully click for me. Yeah, like even trying to think back to it, it's like, but there's still more to be done. Yeah, and well, actually at the moment I am in a prep to re-break it. Yeah, so we've kind of like paused the arm wrestling temporarily, and yeah, we're on the bench.
Wow.
We'll pass the game.
Wow. And is anybody creeping up on you? Like, is there an Eddie Hall like in the background, like trying to take your title? Who is that for you?
So there is one woman. It's the second woman in the world to ever bench press over 300 kgs. I think she did 305. And I said once I'd broken it and become the first woman, I was done. But now that it's potentially becoming a threat, I'm like, hang on. I need to just pop it up a little bit, and then I can carry on with arm wrestling.
So was it 317 is the current record that you did? Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Absolutely incredible. And so arm wrestling is on the back burner for now. And do you find it's really difficult to do both? Like, do you really have to put arm wrestling aside whilst you pursue these big lifts, or is it something where you kind of oscillate between arm wrestling and powerlifting, and you've got to keep them separate, or how does it work for you?
I've done both. So I've done it where I'll do like a heavy bench session, say on a Tuesday, and then by the Saturday it's back to arm wrestling, and it didn't blend well at one point. So then obviously did the bench in 2023 and moved to arm wrestling. But now it's kind of like I'll bench on a Wednesday and then I'll arm wrestle on a Saturday. And I've been doing a lot of mobility, a lot of stretching, just to kind of keep the arms moving so they don't stiffen up. And I'm at like 20% on the Saturday for arm wrestling. And so far it's going pretty well. I haven't broken yet. That's yet to happen, but yeah, so far so good with both.
Wonderful. And so as you kind of work through, so your idea is now let's get that new record, let's set that new benchmark, and then have you got plans for arm wrestling after that then?
Yep. So I actually have 9 weeks until I'm re-breaking it again. So I started my prep for it last week. And I'm heading over to Melbourne on the 22nd of March to do it. And then as soon as I hop off the plane, it's just straight back into arm wrestling mode. I don't really have any kind of comps in mind as of yet for arm wrestling. But yeah, I kind of just went with the flow with it last year and it all came to life. So I think I'll just do the exact same things last year.
And on the powerlifting side, is it only bench? Is that your special? That it's your specialty? Is it, or do you compete in any of the other lifts?
So I did back until 2021, and then squat is actually my best lift, but I hate it. So yeah, it's just bench for now. I don't know whether I'd ever do a 3 lift again. I don't really like deadlifting anymore. I pulled my back out doing 290 last year for it. Yeah. So bench is kind of just, I'm able to just keep going after it.
And it sounds like you're still having fun with it as well, which is really important as well. Like if you're getting injured and you're not enjoying it, then, really apart from achieving a record, what else is there? You're not getting much else out of it, but you're still having fun when you're sitting there under the weights and pushing them up and not getting too sore either. By the sounds of things, not seems to suit you biomechanically.
Yeah. I've been waiting for the day because, I've had a lot of opinions about it. I've always had a lot of opinions about what I do. But it's you might not be able to perform as well. And I'm like, do you know what? I've taken 2 sports without listening to a very high level. And I'm just going to keep doing it. I'm going to keep doing what I love until my body says, just slow down.
Nice. Well, I think that's really listening to your body and understanding where your own limitations are, which, when you're an elite athlete and you're right at the stratosphere in terms of human capability, then, the chances are you're going to do things a little bit differently. You've got a bit more potential than your average athlete that might be out there.
Yeah, 100%.
Absolutely. I just seen this on your Instagram here, which I just want to bring up. It is Eddie Hall reacting to your 317 kilo bench press. It's on captions. I'll give it on captions, but here he is. He says, is my eyes deceiving me? Is this 300 kilos bench press or something? And there you are, putting it up. He says, boom, she got it. He's very impressed. He says, look how happy it makes her. What was the weight?
That that is to date one of the highlights of my entire sporting career. Like, to be recognized by him, and now that he's in arm wrestling, I'm like, oh my gosh, one day it's gonna align and I'm gonna be at the same comp as this person and I'm gonna freak out.
and he'll freak out when he meets you. He knows who you are. You're on his radar.
Oh, that's even it's crazy because I had a podcast a few weeks ago and he's like, your name's starting to be known in North America, and I'm like, who lives there? Like, that's crazy. But I watched it was an interview with Michael Todd, and him and Coach Ray were saying my name, and I'm like, he knows my name. That's crazy.
Muscle bike says it's 3 times the amount that he can do. Yeah, it's 3 times the amount most of us can do, mate.
And so, plans, any kind of negotiations underway? Where do you think the latter half of this year will take you in an arm wrestling sense when you're oversetting this record and right back into the arm wrestling swing of things?
So I've already been asked to go to Kentucky in April, and
Mm-hmm.
they're like, "You'll be fine," and I'm like, "No, it's literally like 3 weeks after trying to break a record. If I'm gonna travel anywhere, there has to be a solid prep. I have to be focusing on it solely, to be able to actually go overseas. But no, there's nothing really planned for arm wrestling. I've kind of just been waiting for an invite
Wait
from
for an
someone
invite.
to come
We'll
over.
work on something, maybe. So, and any big names? Anybody coming to mind? Like now that you're becoming more, I guess, a figure within the arm wrestling world, and people are certainly getting to know you. Like, what names kind of come to mind in terms of? Oh, I wouldn't mind pulling her, or yeah, she would be. She might be my Mount Everest. I reckon I wouldn't mind having a crack at her at some point in the next year or two or three.
I definitely think the first kind of big name is Sarah Beckman. Obviously, things didn't work out last year, and I would love to just like have a super match with her and kind of see where I am at, because obviously, she is one of the best of the best.
She's a good
Eventually,
benchmark, isn't she?
yeah, she is, and it's like she has been in it for years. She's been pulling against the top, because she is one of them. But I would love to do it just to see where I am against her, and to see like what else I kind of need to work on and stuff like that. But yeah, Sarah is the main one, and then there are two others that come to mind. One, her name's Jocelyn, and she is also a bencher. She can raw bench 140 kgs. So I
Wow.
would love to pull her one day, and yeah, like the all time would be Gabby. Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that, Hollywood?
Yeah, absolutely. I think they were the names that immediately sprung to mind for me as well. And yeah, Sarah Bachman, obviously, had that sort of in place. Unfortunately, the scheduling didn't line up for it. But you never say never. We might see that again one day in the future. But yes, Jocelyn as well from the United States. I believe she's from North America anyway. Fantastic, very similar sort of story. Has that powerlifting background and has been doing tremendous things on the table. Obviously, Gabby being the heavyweight champion for many years in a row. Recently, she was dethroned by Barbora, who is gone on a solid run, and she won their rematch as well. But yeah, it would be fantastic to see you line up against any of those ladies.
100%. Yep.
For sure. And so I guess for the promoters that are out there and watching this, I guess there's an opportunity in the second half of the year to bring this young lady from, well, the other side of the world, really. And how long does it take you to get from where you are to somewhere like Kentucky, for instance?
Oh gosh, I know that from New Zealand to LA, it's 12 hours. Anything after that, I'm not too sure. So it was 4 hours from LA to Chicago. So probably about a day, to be honest.
Wow. Well, it's and it is one of the harder things being an athlete from, well, it's hard in Australia really, but when you're in New Zealand, you're just you can't get much further away from the rest of the world and still be on this planet than being in New Zealand, basically, and so it makes it really difficult to for you to be able to, I guess, have those opportunities in the same way that, say, girls in the US might, or even in Europe potentially, because you really are dealing with a much smaller pool of talent that you can train with. And I would say, even when it comes to training with some men, when you've only got a relatively small pool of men to be training with, it might be hard for you to find adequate training partners that can test you.
Yeah, definitely. And it is noticeable. Like, obviously, I know how everyone pulls within the club now. And so we've kind of started to invite other clubs from around New Zealand to train, which has been good, but obviously that can't happen every weekend. Yeah. So we've started coming up with like other ways to train, and obviously using a band as resistance. And then the boys have kind of like started different movements and kind of taken me by surprise. So it's like quick thinking, but it's also good because obviously I'm still a rookie.
Yeah.
But I'm learning, which is really cool.
Yeah, it's such a steep learning curve, but crazy to kind of think you've achieved so much in the sport already, but there's still so much upside, so much more to still come for you, which is super exciting. Yeah, here we go.
Guys, I forgot. I measured myself. Apparently, I'm 5'7", so.
Oh, really? You've ripped yourself off?
I know.
This was the AWE super match that you had against Australia's #1 arm wrestler, Keziah Harrington. How were you feeling like prior to this moment? You're very serious, very focused. You're walking into the match.
So I think it was like 10 minutes before I actually went and did the little walk up. I rang Mate Urangi, and he's like, I really need you to get in your emotions right now. Like, think of something really emotional that's just gonna bring, unleash. And I thought of my dad, like, just before I walked on the stage. And when I walked up, I couldn't see anyone. I was literally just ready to, like, thump someone. And
wow.
but I was like, oh my gosh, bring it back down. But I was just feeling mentally strong, and I was ready to go. I was really excited.
It was such a great experience to have you here. This is our first time sort of seeing you compete on that big stage, especially for us to see you at the AWE, and then going against #1 in Australia. There was a lot of question marks for us. It's like, well, we know that Ashleigh's incredibly strong, and she's obviously got very good at arm wrestling. You'd won the qualifiers for East versus West and had competed overseas, but here you go, just overpowering Keziah, just too strong. It's a tremendous performance that you put on at the AWE Grand Prix 2 event here in Adelaide.
Yeah, I mean, Keziah was very, very brave to pick up that match. After all, she was stepping into Sarah Backman's shoes for this particular event. And really, I mean, we had the same dilemma that you have in finding training partners, in trying to find an opponent for you, because on still that relatively short notice and shopping around and looking around the country, it's like, well, let's just try and find the best girl in the country and see how that works. And well, it was people can see right now how that one turned out. So it was a matter of, now we're very much of the mind, like, it has to be international and has to be somebody who's really in that kind of top 5 or so in the world to I guess, make it a credible match. So it's just a matter of finding those people for you, which is going to be the dilemma.
Yeah. I absolutely love pulling Keziah. Like, it's you're going from facing Sarah Backman and then getting asked the question. I thought, maybe she won't do it, but she did, and she was so excited and so happy. And then she went on, what was it, the week after, to take out Australian champs. Like, she is strong, and she's only young as well. She has so much potential in this sport. It's awesome.
Absolutely, yeah, for sure. There's no harm in getting up and giving it your absolute best shot. And it was such a pleasure and a privilege for us to have 2 incredible athletes competing for AWE, and Keziah winning the national titles the week after this event right here. But you can see that your strength, your power was just way too much on the day.
And it was interesting speaking with Keziah after that event, because she considers herself not like a hardcore arm wrestler. Like, she's enjoying the sport. She's really good at it, as it turns out. She's obviously got a great deal of talent as well. But, she hasn't fully locked in, is it going to be her sport forever kind of thing. And and she was kind of talking about, what she's not really into another sport, but, what might she do? And is it really going to be for her? And it's like, well, she's already traveled almost around the world, just through arm wrestling, although, not making a lot of money, but she is so young, and she's had those opportunities to travel around the world and to meet different people and have different experiences that you wouldn't have had if it wasn't for arm wrestling. And I think she's right to pursue it for that, I think, if nothing else. And I think that's where the sport is at the moment, where there's a lot of really good athletes that they're not necessarily making an income from it, but it's almost like their holiday season. I know with Todd Hutchings, squaring the event schedule around his holidays meant that it was essentially a paid bonus for him when he traveled, but it was a paid holiday for him, and he used that as an opportunity to buffer his lifestyle a little bit, which I think is great that the sport has matured to that level. And of course, what we're all hoping for, of course, is that the big dollars start rolling in the not too distant future, so the athletes can actually make a living out of it and dedicate themselves singularly to the art of arm wrestling.
Absolutely. We've got a great comment here from Tim Tormage, who runs the Arizona State tournament and a couple of other tournaments throughout the year. A very decorated promoter and fantastic arm wrestler and referee. He says, I would love to have you at Arizona State June the 7th to pull all the Swedens and everyone in North America who's coming.
Sorry.
You're like, hang on.
How much time there is. I could do Arizona.
You don't have to answer now.
I'm like,
can we get a counter on the screen? I would like for Ashleigh to answer now. As a matter of fact, we can get 30 seconds and maybe some thinking music as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
do you know what?
It's
It sounds great.
It's a yes.
At the end of the day, it is Mate Urangi has the last say. Because I'm very impulsive. I would do anything and everything, right? Whereas he is very much like, you are silly, you need a prep. So end of the day, he has all the answers.
Oh, good deflection onto the manager. Yeah. I like that.
If he says no, then that's no good. It's all his fault. We'll blame Mate Urangi. But that could be great. I mean, Tim Talmadge puts on an incredible tournament over there. I know Mario Tambakis has competed in that several times, as well as Lachlan Carpenter from Australia. Both speak very highly of the event. And he does attract a lot of the big names in the sport, and it would be a fantastic way to get into facing some of the North American talent that are over there.
Cool.
Yeah, exciting times.
And
tell us a little bit about the New Zealand arm wrestling scene at the moment. How many clubs are there that you know of, and who's doing what, and who are some of those rising stars or young people you're noticing coming up through the ranks?
Oh, I don't really pay attention, except for with the women, because the men have got all of their divisions and stuff, whereas we don't have enough women. And
so how is that? So do you at nationals? Is there a contingent? Is there like the same, 6 or 10 or 15 girls that come out, or how does that happen?
We have four
women. Yeah.
Wow.
And it's the same woman each year. I definitely think our number 2 in New Zealand would be a great match against Keziah. She's very strong, very solid wrist. But my kind of goal over the next 2 or 3 years is to go around to the clubs and get them to kind of put it out there that I'm coming down, so then women come along. And I was doing that over the Christmas holidays. There were quite a lot of women who turned up, and now they're kind of in contact with me. They're going each week. So it's a start, from 4 to now it's kind of building up to about 20. So
that's fantastic. And obviously you're playing a great role in amongst that, even just by being a role model that people can look up to and kind of see, Ashleigh's making being an arm wrestler okay, So, which is absolutely amazing. Final question from me is really around when you're preparing yourself for a big event. What are some of those? Do you have any of those kind of things that you'll stay away from a certain type of food, or you're not going to drink any water, or do you have a protocol or some quick little things that you do in the lead up to a competition?
I used to get really, really nervous before competitions, to the point where like I would lose sleep. I wouldn't be able to eat properly. Everything was just done backwards. And then I did that world record bench, and everything went really well. I wasn't nervous. I'd slept. I'd eaten breakfast. So I think, like even at AWE, I had breakfast. I used to not eat breakfast, so now it is about eating the right things. I've gone into this year 3 liters of water. The day before a comp, making sure that I've got enough rest, getting enough sleep, eating a really, really good breakfast, and making sure that I'm drinking water throughout the day. Yay!
I did say it was my final question, but just one final one. How are you balancing off preparing for competition, doing these things, preparing for a world record lift, presumably working at the same time, and over the last little while, I've noticed you've got somewhat of a media profile now. So you're also going out there doing TV interviews. You're on the radio and being called in to do. How are you balancing that and kids and the whole thing at the moment?
Oh, it's easy. I dreamed about this before I started this. And now that it's happening, everything just falls into place. And if you really want it to happen, you just fit it in during your day.
I love it. I love it. That's a wonderful way to end the podcast, I think, with an inspirational quote just like that. That should be on a calendar somewhere with you powerlifting, and that's the quote. I think that's what I've got in my mind.
I do really like that philosophy, though. I mean, there's so many people that say, "Oh, I haven't got time. I haven't got time to do this, or there's just not enough hours." Well, if it was really important to you, you'd make the time to do it.
Yeah. And Hollywood Matt Connolly, final comments or thoughts from yourself before we head off tonight?
Yeah, it was so good to see you not only compete with us at AWE, but do so in such a tremendous fashion. Your name is getting out there as one of the potential top women in the world in the sport, which is absolutely incredible. You're setting records with bench press. You're chasing down titles, and you're doing all the right things. It's tremendous to see, and we are big supporters of you, and hope to see lots of good things happen for you this year.
Thank you guys heaps. You're always good to catch
up. Always.
That's been great. We can't wait to see you in Arizona or on June the 7th by the looks of things. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us here on Arm Wrestling tonight. This is your 5 nights a week arm wrestling podcast, bringing you the beautiful personalities of the arm wrestling world. And one of those personalities tonight was Ashleigh Hoeta. Thank you very much, Ashleigh, and we'll look forward to hearing more from you as we go through